All right, we are live here now. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm here with my buddies Wrangler and ZD. How are you guys doing, Wrangler?
I'm
How was
doing
your
good.
free
How are
hit?
you?
Doing good, doing good.
Uh, Heat was like free shit, right? As FPL general said. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of disappointing, expecting a lot of points. But anyways, we move on. So, had a green arrow at least. So that's a good
Hmm.
thing.
That's good.
How about
How about you,
yours?
ZD?
Yeah, good. I mean, let's forget about WWPC.
Yeah,
I kept in Uyghurs, so nothing to talk about it. It feels like,
yeah,
and
we all did, right? Yeah,
yeah, and
unfortunately.
with this coming double game week, feels like uh, the game week actually finished like long time ago, but it's actually 2 days ago. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a very underwhelming free hit for all of us. And we were all thinking about the game week 19 free hit, people who free hitted in back in game week 19 when Liverpool didn't have a game. And a lot of people had a huge upside, right? They gained like 30, 35 plus points. We barely gained anything this week, I think. So yeah, so it was very underwhelming. But anyways, I mean, we decided to do it, and especially Wrangler and I, we wildcarded in 26 specifically to play free hit in 27. So yeah, it didn't play out that well. But of course, good thing is that our next game week is here, which is a pretty decent double game week 28. So this is our double game week 28 preview video. Deadline is approximately around 36 hours from now. Uh, so yeah, so let's start talking about this. And again, good thing that free 27 is behind us. We're going to talk about the fixtures in the short term and in the long term. Uh, we'll talk about the players to target, specifically for the next couple of game weeks, 28 and 29, and also kind of beyond that as well. We'll talk about Wildcard 28, which is a pretty popular move. It was supposed to be as soon as some of the fixtures were released. So, and especially for people who triple captain Salah in 26, for a lot of them, Wildcard 28 is going to be popular. And of course, we'll talk about Game Week 28 Captaincy. It's a pretty open game week for captaincy this week. And we'll finish with our team selections. All right. So with that, so let's go and talk about the fixtures. So basically, and again, as we already kind of knew, 28 uh, originally 6 teams were going to double, and 29 another 6 teams were going to double. So kind of after the deadline of last game week, there was another announcement that if Chelsea or Norwich basically moves on to the next round of FA Cup, they there will be basically pull ahead from game week 30 into game week 28. So both Chelsea and Norwich double to, and that happened. So now 8 teams are doubling in game week 28, and still 6 teams playing in 29. In game week 30, now we exactly know which teams are going to play. So there are essentially only 4 fixtures, as we predicted. The only unlikely fixture is probably Tottenham and West Ham. Both of them lost. So kind of unlikely. At least we are not expecting that for that to happen. That both will lose. So now we have 4 fixtures in game week 30, but still a pretty big blank. So 12 teams blanking essentially. And of course, I mean, there is not much point about talking for game week 31 and beyond. We all know 33 is kind of a little more defined now. At least we know which teams are potentially going to blank. But again, the teams that blank for FA Cup may again play in the next midweek, because the midweek is open. So it may not be a blank at all for anyone. So that's not decided yet. We'll know that likely in the international break after game week 30. So if someone is planning to do wildcard in game week 31, I think it'll be pretty much decided by then how it's going to look like, the schedules for 33 and maybe a little beyond that as well. So with that being said, anything that you guys want to add? ZD, you have anything to add for fixtures?
uh, no. I mean, still lots of feature to add, so there are plenty of game remaining. So, oh, yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, I mean, Spurs and West Ham, the game is added, so I think it will help many non-free hitters actually to uh, uh, probably sustain that game week, and
Mhm.
they don't need to use actual free hitter. I believe that.
Yeah, it's again kind of an underwhelming blank week and only four fixtures and nothing like specific that you want to target either. So yeah, definitely not a free worthy week unless you have like only maybe 4 or 5 playing players. Then you just at least gain the appearance points from all the other players if you can field the 11 with a free hit. Other than that, it's definitely not worth free hitting in 30 anymore. Anything to add, Wrangler, for the fixtures, short
No, I
term or
think
long term?
no, I think you covered pretty well. And yeah, as you said, like let's cover only till 30, and then we'll see how it goes after
Yep.
30.
Yep. So there is a pretty big international break after Game Week 30. So we'll and in that break we'll know a lot of information that will basically make clear to us how it's going to be beyond 31, starting 31 essentially. All right, so let's move on. So just kind of looking at the Game Week 28 fixtures, so immediate double Game Week 28 fixtures, and we'll look at have a quick look at our effective XGs as well. Uh, but basically, I think there are few kind of fixtures that we can definitely target. Of course, Chelsea doubling opens up a complete new avenue for a lot of managers, either people who wildcarded in 26 or planning to wildcard in 28, or navigating with just free transfers, however it is. But Chelsea has a pretty decent double against Burnley and Norwich, both away games, but still very, very decent double game week for Chelsea. Liverpool plays West Ham home. So again, we'll talk when we talk about captaincy. Although they don't have a double, Salah is still a contender for captaincy, and they are still expected to score approximately 2.5 goals. So very heavily favorite in that game, Liverpool, especially given West Ham's recent form. Leicester Leeds is probably a little bit overlooked. Leeds, of course, lost their manager Bielsa recently. So I don't know how quickly the new coach is going to improve the defensive situation, especially. And Leicester is kind of that team, right? They concede, but they always score as well, right? So this could potentially be a very high scoring match, Leicester Leeds. So kind of overlooked fixture actually for game week 28 because we are all looking at the double game weekers potentially, and that makes sense as well. But that particular fixture, I think, especially people who are maybe are all set with double game weekers, not the worst fixture to kind of look at. And both Leicester and Leeds actually have fixtures in 30 game week 30, right? So if you don't have anyone from Leicester or Leeds, of course Leeds have a double this game week. Definitely worth to use your free transfers on them also. Other fixtures: Spurs versus Everton. Again, Spurs single game week for them, but decent single game week against Everton. Everton did decently against Manchester City in 27, right? Not too bad defensively, but again, this could potentially be a high-scoring match for Spurs. Another single game week fixture that kind of catches the eye is Arsenal versus Watford. Arsenal away, but given how leaky Watford's defense is, they are still favored to win that match and score heavily potentially. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Of course, other teams, Aston Villa has a okay looking double game week, not probably the best against Southampton and Leeds. Leeds, of course, again, as we said, they just have a new coach. So we never know how that game is going to be. But any other fixtures that, or any fixtures specifically you guys are targeting? ZD, anything comes to mind?
No, I think you covered well. I'm hoping Leeds Leicester that game could be quite open game, although
Hmm.
the new manager. But I think we have been seeing that he's also an attacking minded player, a
Right.
coach. And Southampton a team actually, I think they have good potential attacking and defense wise, especially defense.
Hmm.
Those who are in wildcard probably they are looking for some of the Southampton option. Chelsea, that's in. The Chelsea got the I think easiest double game week, so that's a like tricky one. Like the who and they are blanking in game week 30 as well. So
Mhm.
I mean that's it. So it's an interesting situation. Actually, it's not a bad double game week,
Right.
and again game week 29 is also a big one. So um, I think it's very exciting time as well.
Yeah. By the way, the only team that has a double double in 28 and 29 is Newcastle. And again, under the new management, after I think Howie took over at around like game week 14 or something, they were okay under him until they had the January transfers in. Especially defensively, they have
Yeah,
improved
defensively they are
significantly.
better.
I think they're like the second or third best defense in the last 6 game weeks or something like that from XG considered standpoint. So, of course, they are a team to target, a goalkeeper or a cheap defender. Definitely, people can go there. Chelsea is interesting because Chelsea had big blanks, right, in 24, in 25, and in 27. So three kind of back-to-back blanks in 4 game weeks. So a lot of people got rid of them, and even who people like us, like me and Wrangler, who played wildcard in 26 before 26, uh, we did not think of bringing in a Chelsea defender back then, right? So because we are not quite sure what the double game week is going to be. There was a potential for Chelsea and Arsenal. Now it's Chelsea and Norwich, so better for Chelsea in a way. So if we already knew that before our wildcard, we would probably try to accommodate at least one Chelsea defender potentially. So that's the interesting thing, right? So almost I would say like right now at this point, their effective ownership is like maybe like 1%. Like no one has them literally, right? So that makes it very interesting how people are going to navigate that situation. Anything that you want to add, Wrangler, for the fixtures specifically of the week?
No, I think we covered it pretty well, and we have been talking about not only 28, but we are talking about like 28, 29, 30, and there is reason for that, right? And
Hmm.
that Venn diagram is shown here. A shout out to FPL Spaceman. I think he like showed it or illustrated it pretty well, and it was done before the Everton's FA Cup game, and it was assumed that Everton is going to win, and they're going to blank in 30, and that basically happened. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think like this shows here, right, that it's not only one game week you can target actually. Even if you play wild card or even if you played wild card before, if you do transfer, it's not only one game week thing. You have to think about
Right.
like 28, 29, and 30 as well, right? It's a big blanking. So
Hmm.
it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be
Right.
very interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, so there are a couple teams that double this game week, has a game in game week 30, and there are also a couple of teams, Arsenal and Tottenham, who double in 29, have now games in 30, right? So that again, kind of the
Yeah.
dynamics is very interesting. You have a potential to target the doubles and also have players for game week 30 and navigate it without a free hit, as we were talking a few minutes ago as well. So yeah, definitely kind of that time of the season, right, when the strategy making kind of all takes place and makes the game kind of differential. A lot of people will go a lot of different ways. That's what makes the game interesting at this point. But all right, so let's move on. So connected to all this, of course, connected to the fixtures. So Wrangler, you want to start the discussion for the players to target for this game week and beyond?
Yeah, sure. So basically, as we saw right in the previous slide, that there are a lot of teams are going to double, and then also there is a like big blank in 30, but there are few teams are going to play.
Hmm.
So if we want to cover each team, it's going to take a lot of time. So we thought to kind of compile all together the key teams to target and key players to target, and then we'll probably discuss like which one probably is going to be better pick, in terms of like X points or X minutes, whatnot, right?
Right.
One good thing, like we have a lot of good things here after the free hit, right? That lots of good like double games here coming, and another good thing is that no Burnley is here. So in 27 in the free hit, people like loaded up with Burnley, but the good part is it's free hitted, so no Burnley is there anymore.
Yep.
And here also, like, we like made it in divided in two parts. We considered like around 13 teams here, which are kind of interesting next 3 game weeks. The 4 teams that we discarded first, Man City, Man United, Burnley, and can you go back to
Norwich.
the previous
Or
slide? Uh,
no,
Previous
Norwich.
one. Yeah, so Man City, Man United, Burnley,
Oh,
and
the
Crystal Palace,
Crystal Palace.
they
Yeah.
are single game week, and they are not playing in the
30th.
blank game week as well, right? And then West Ham got a blank, like got a game in the blank game week very recently, right? But it's still, I mean, Bowen is probably the only player to
Mm-hmm.
keep. Brentford, not really. I mean, only person again we can think of maybe Tony, even Tony. I don't know, but
Mm,
not very interesting. So those 6, and another team is Brighton. I mean, they're doubling in 29. I actually didn't include that, but now I see. I mean, they're doubling now. If you have them, probably a hold, but I don't see buying them
no. Yeah.
because, as I said, right, it's not only you buy them for 1 game week; it's all tied up 20 to 30, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see any Brighton asset actually, like,
Yeah. And
uh,
their numbers have gone
yeah,
down significantly in recent times also.
exactly, right.
So they're
There are better options.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, now if you go to the next slide, so we decided, or we kind of chalked out like 13 teams. This is the first slide where we are showing 6 teams alphabetically ordered. So the first one is Arsenal. They're playing Watford in 28, and they're doubling in Leicester City and Liverpool in 29. Not a good fixture defensive wise, but attacking wise, at least against Leicester City, it's gonna be a good game for them. And then they are also playing in 30, while like it's a very big plan game week, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why Arsenal assets are very popular. People are either loaded up or loading up at least 2, can be 3, I think. And I believe Saka is the most popular pick, you know. And he's the, best player of Arsenal on the pitch right now. I mean, no doubt about it,
Yep.
right? And then Lacazette is there. His XGs, I mean, we already talked about it before. I mean, it was zero point 0.9 or so. It's so good, right? And
Yep.
he was kind of fortunate also in the last game that, Wolves considered it was kind of an own goal. But at least, I mean, he got the return at the end.
Yeah.
So I
He
think
could
Saka,
have actually scored though. Like that was lucky return, but he actually could or
yeah,
should
yeah,
have
that's
scored.
right.
Yeah. So
Yes,
he is always kind of in and around the box. Good
yes,
option. Whoever
and
has him.
he's on penalty too, right? So
Absolutely.
so Saka definitely, Lacazette is a good option. Odegaard and Martinelli are good, like
Cheaper
budget
options.
friendly, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yep.
Because first of all, they're sort of nailed, looks like, and at their price 5.4, 5.5, with double game week in 29, playing in 30,
Mm-hmm.
28 is a good fixture. I think it's a good buy, right? But I think goalkeeping wise, Ramsdale will be again popular. There will be competition between Ramsdale and Sa, right? But I think if you, I mean, if you can accommodate both, why not? But at least one of them, like Ramsdale is gonna have more games in hand, right? Because they have a Tottenham game and the Southampton game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still needs to be scheduled. So he
Correct.
has like 2 more games in hand. So definitely he's a good buy. Tierney, very good upside, and Gabriel, right? Against Leicester City, we know how vulnerable they are in set pieces, and Gabriel has been very good recently. So those are the players, at least, I think are going to be popular. Now you pick based on your team, your strategies.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, Saka and Ramsdale probably are the 2 most popular, and you pick another out of these 3 or 4, right? So what do you
Yeah.
think, guys?
No, yeah, absolutely. And there is a very good likelihood that Arsenal may double in 33
33,
as well,
right?
potentially Arsenal and Tottenham, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, they are not just holds for short term, they are good long term holds as well. Pretty much all the way to the end of the season, especially Ramsdale, right? If you have him, you can carry him all the way to game week 38. He's a very, very decent hold for the season
right.
keeper, essentially. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with whatever you said about the other assets.
Okay. Now the second team is Aston Villa. They are doubling in 28. It's a decent double. Southampton and Leeds. right? And Leeds, as you already discussed or mentioned before, right?
Hmm.
Leeds defensive number was very, very bad. I think they are in the, like,
Yeah, worst team pretty much in the last 6 7
probably
years.
okay.
Yeah.
I think they are worst team right now
Yeah.
in the league. In 29, they are playing against West Ham. That's an away game. It's an okay fixture, but again, they are playing in 30. So it's not like you can get rid of them in 29, because if you don't play in, like play free hit in 30, then you have to hold them, right?
Right.
So Coutinho is a good shout. I mean, he's right now the talisman in the team. Looks like after he joined, and he's on set pieces as well, right? And he's a good captaincy shout as well, maybe for 28. So I think Coutinho is going to be very popular pick, and he's you already actually increased a lot, like So that's, and Ramsey with his price, definitely, and Lucadin. So those are the three players I can think of. I know that ZD has Watkins. I
You want to talk about
don't
Watkins,
know if you
ZD?
want to talk about it, ZD.
No, so I expected if he returns at least one assist, I'd be very happy because I am actually um, having him like from game week 19, but never got a return. Luckily, he gave a return last week, but I did free it. So
Unluckily, right?
yeah, so
Unluckily.
yeah, so I mean
Yeah.
it's lucky for him, but not for me. So
Yeah.
But
that's
this could be
why.
the week. Who knows? Because they changed the formation now, right? 4-4-2,
Yeah.
and
Looks
Hopefully, he
like
at
that's
least
what
starts.
Gerard is.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
he at least start. If he starts, I hope he can at least contribute a goal.
Yeah. Right. So I
yeah.
mean,
Because
Watkins.
attacking wise, these two games are good actually.
Yeah. So Watkins is, starting up front is good for him, but actually slightly bad for Coutinho because he is probably not as forward anymore. He's more kind of a central midfielder, not quite a the central attacking like number 10 role that much anymore. Not so it probably hurts his potential a little bit, as Wrangler was saying, as a captaincy option in 28. I will talk about it later, but yeah, I mean, if someone has Watkins, it's very hard to get rid of him, unfortunately, right? Like ZD. But yeah, I mean, you probably just kind of at least ride 28 out with Watkins and
Yeah,
see what
I
happens, then
have
move him
tennis
out
too,
in
so
29.
I cannot get rid of
Yeah.
these
Oh,
One
players.
thing actually, like I mean, I don't like Lucadin here. I mean, if you see
hmm
like Southampton, Leeds, they are like
Yeah,
offensively they are pretty good. West Ham. I mean,
and
I have him, but it's
for
just,
Leeds, it's a home game. So,
yeah.
and for
I think they're gonna
Southampton,
consider in both of the games,
Very
Southampton and
likely,
Leeds.
yeah. I think I mean, all of us have Dinia in our team for attacking return here and there, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
Unlike, yeah, I don't see a clean sheet
yeah,
in almost any of these four fixtures at all.
hopefully a Dine Cross and Watkins
Yeah.
goal. We can hope for.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but yeah, I wish I don't know. I wish I could change that. Like Lucadin,
Yeah, it was a little bit of oversight from us. And he's expensive too, right? 5.1 million we
yeah.
bought him for. So we could have easily gone for like a 4.5 million, whatever, like Wolves defender or something. We spoke about it later, but
I
again, yeah,
I don't know. Dini is always like for is like me for me. When I own him,
yeah,
he does not return. When I sell him,
yeah, yeah.
he gives return. And
He's
similarly,
always
Watkins as well
overhyped.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so let's move on
All
to
right.
Chelsea. That's
Mm-hmm.
the one of the most like interesting one, right? And the double game week fixture announcement came very recently. Whenever we played wildcard, we really didn't expect much, right? Kante, as you mentioned. Otherwise, we would have probably thought differently in our wildcard draft, right? Or in
Mm-hmm.
our wildcard. Now, since now Chelsea is doubling and that their fixture is pretty good. Like both of them are away game in 28, Burnley and Norwich, but they are Burnley and Norwich, right?
Right.
So you have like a very good reason to be excited about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they are playing against Newcastle in home in 29, and they are blanking in 30. So there are lots of good shout, right? Now the thing is, if you play wildcard, you can accommodate, but if you already played wildcard or if you are in free transfer, it's kind of like the call you have to give, right? That which one you think of is going to be long term or is going to be like very short term, like or medium term, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So Rudiger, nailness wise, I think he's definitely a very good shout. But Reece James is Reece James, right? The upside is always like as Kante you are mentioning, right? That Rudiger actually played double minutes than James, but
Hmm.
he had only more like 17 points more,
17 more points than this.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like whenever James is on the pitch, the upside is it's so good, right? Even if he plays only
Hmm.
one game, you never know, it's going to be like massacre, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Reece James is going to be very popular, pick. We'll see. I mean, his minis was like managed in the FA Cup, and as you mentioned before, that Chelsea is gonna play Champions League in the following week. So he might be benched in 29 because they are playing the second game of the 28 and 29. The difference is only 60 hours or so, right? And
Correct. Yeah.
so I mean, we don't know how it goes, how it's gonna be, but I mean, there is a chance that he might play both games, or at least like one.
Yeah, I definitely expect him to play 2 out of 3. I don't know which
Yeah,
2 out of 3, but most likely the double game weeks in 28. That's the
right.
better chance for him. At least I think he plays 150 minutes, if not the whole 180. That's what I'm expecting from Reese in the double game week.
Right. So yeah, definitely Rudiger and James, people will be like, probably having this dilemma as well, where like whom to pick, right?
Hmm.
But I think both of them are like good one. Thiago
Yeah,
Silva,
Akib is here. He's saying that FPL Kante not picking Kante in FPL. So what a heartbreaking story.
I'll pick him in game week 38 and bench him. How about that?
Yeah. Sorry, for cutting you off. Please
no,
go
it's all
ahead.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Akib. So yeah, Thiago Silva is another good shout. He was rested in the FA Cup, so which is good. If anyone wants to buy him, and again, I think he might be playing both of the games in 28. He might be rested again in 29, and also like he's a little bit cheaper, right? So and he was good always in set pieces, right?
Hmm.
So that's the defense. Now offense, I mean, Kai Havertz was rested, so definitely he's a good shout, right? And Mount and Lukaku are always like very glamorous as well, right? I mean, whenever Chelsea doubles, I think it's very tempting to get them as well. But as I said, right, if you navigate through free transfer, it's difficult to accommodate. Probably. But if you play free like wildcard or free hit, then you can do whatever you want. Anything to add? Kante, I know you're a Chelsea supporter, so anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, for Havertz and Lukaku, it does look like that Havertz is kind of the first choice for that number 9 role. And Chelsea seems to be playing better with Havertz up front. Their system works better with Havertz on the pitch in comparison to what they do with Lukaku. And of course, they brought Lukaku for a specific purpose with the wingers playing. And if both Chilwell and James Rees are on the pitch, probably Lukaku is a better player overall because that's where he flourishes. But with the current situation, I think looks like Havertz is the priority or first choice, and he was rested. I think the he was not even on the in the squad for the FA Cup game, so he's fully rested. So he's ready to go for the both the double game weeks. I think he starts both the double game weeks. There is a likelihood that Lukaku and Werner starts one of the matches. Havertz can still play, so there is a likelihood of having a three-man front of Havertz, Lukaku, and Werner. Mount played the pretty much the whole game. He played in the Carabao final and he played in the FA Cup in the midweek, right? So I think he does get benched for at least one of the matches in the double game week. So not as attractive maybe, but again, with Ziyech injured, he might just play both also. So it's very hard to really know what Tuchel is planning for. But I think Mount is a little bit of minutes risk. Havertz is probably the better pick if you're just looking at X minutes in the double game week. Um, or if you are like free hitting, I know a bunch of people are free hitting in game week 28 as well. Havertz is probably a better shot than Mount or even Lukaku over Lukaku. Lukaku is a kind of a flat track bully, right? So if he plays against these smaller teams, and we'll see at the like if FPL review predicted points, he's very highly rated in there as well. So if he does play, if he does get minutes, he can absolutely destroy these
Mhm.
two teams, the smaller teams. He is built for that. He always does well in the smaller, like the against the smaller teams. So, but it's very hard to know. So the defenders, of course, the priority targets, as you mentioned, Rudiger, James and Thiago Silva, whatever suits your strategy best. And then if you're going for an attacker, probably Havertz over Mount and Lukaku.
So if you'd play free hit, say, and if you would pick three, so Rudiger, James, and Havertz, right?
Rudiger, James and Havertz, yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So Everton, I don't know why I kept it, but I mean, I thought their fixture in 29 is not bad. 20, like Wolves and Newcastle, and if anyone is playing wildcard, Gordon is probably a good budget enabler. I mean, people also have Ramsey, and Ramsey is doing double in 28. So I mean, if anyone want to have any swap, they can do that. It's a luxury move, I would say. Uh, Leeds, Rafinha is the only one, right? I don't. I mean, I cannot think of any other player. Even, I mean, since Bamford is not here, right? So their fixture is good. Again, doubling in 28, Leicester City and Aston Villa, right? And Rafinha is again the talisman, and they are playing Norwich in 29. It's at home game, right?
Hmm.
And they are also playing in 30. So overall, I think Rafinha is a good shout, and I think he's going to be very like popular pick, in these 3 game weeks because of the fixture and whatnot, right? And then Leicester City, they are not doubling, but they are playing in 30, right? And they have a lot of games are coming, right? So like say if you already are playing wildcard for say, right? I mean, and or like you want to navigate like transfer that you played already wildcard before, and a lot of people might have Madison already. So I
Mhm.
guess then it's not a good pick like Madison. Vardy is expensive. I don't know if he fits really, unless you do free hit. But Madison, I think he might fit, and Leeds is a good game, right? Especially 28, and then 30 is also a good game too. But Brentford. So yeah, I think Madison and Vardy I can think of. Any? Do you think anyone else? Like I don't know, Daka or Lukman. They have any?
Maybe Dhaka. I mean, will have to look out for how what these minutes are managed, especially after the long injury. We'll have to look out for the Dhaka is a decent option whenever he plays. He looks like a scoring, but again, it's a lot of rotation risk. Iheanacho is there too, right? So basically, three of them rotate essentially. Barnes is pretty nailed. Lookman looks pretty nailed.
Mhm.
There is Madison, and so yeah, I mean it's basically one place for the three guys for the Duck and the Nacho. So I probably would not go to anyone. Madison is the only pick that I would think of, unless like we get like a good double game week, potentially in 33, which we were talking about just before the video. Akib is talking about Harrison or Dan James for Leeds. Again, hard to go there given how many good options we have in the midfield elsewhere. Of course, I mean it's a good punt, but if you are maybe like wildcarding soon or using a free hit this week, maybe just maybe. But yeah, it's hard to look past Rafinha in that Leeds team. He's still on penalties. Maybe he's the talisman, as you said. ZD, you want to add anything?
I mean, also we don't know how the team will looks like, right? I mean, like say
Yeah,
Dan James,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Bielsa liked him, but what
Mm,
new coach will prefer, right? We don't know. So
absolutely correct.
I
Yeah.
think only player who you can actually bet on that's Rafinha. But Dan
Yeah,
James, if Bills is there, I would say okay, you can take the
it
punt.
was a okay shout. Yeah, yeah.
But I
But
don't
Dan
think
James
that
might
that that
flourish here, by the way.
Sorry again. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Say
Dan
that
James
again.
might flourish here actually because the coach they are getting actually he has the same philosophy as Ralph Ragnick. Okay, it's a high pressing game, and Dan James
Mhm.
like work rate is pretty high actually.
Yeah, I mean, he has looked good, to be honest. Absolutely. And he should have scored more. He has been underperforming like severely. Like his underlying numbers are very good. I think he scored like a brace in one game, but that's about it. He hasn't returned much. Yeah, he can be a good punt, but again, as ZD said, like given the new coach, unless you are like free hitting or unless you are using your wild card soon, it's kind of a transfer waiting to happen, right? So and again there are lots of options in the midfield.
Right.
We are
yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
the issue actually. We
yeah.
have like if Daniels is a striker, probably it
Oh
will
yeah,
make sense to take
absolutely. If
a
you if was a striker, yeah, I would probably pick him over Broya even. Maybe
yeah,
not, but probably. So that could be an
yeah,
option at least. So, and yeah,
in a
all right.
wild card. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Uh,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Rangan.
Yeah, so Liverpool, I mean, nothing to talk about here. We already know, like, 29, they're doubling. A lot of people might play either triple captain who didn't play before, or maybe bench boost, we'll see. And they're playing West Ham in 28, and West Ham's numbers are degrading very recently. So it's a good game week to Liverpool. I mean, except Man City, probably it's always good for them. And Man City also, they played pretty good, right? So
Mhm.
Salah, Trent, those are the two people. Now probably the third one is since now they have lots of option in the attacking, right? Like Jota or Mane or Luis Diaz. So I think then third option is gonna go either to Robertson or like Van Dijk, based on like how much money or fund you have. So I think those are the, like, options. And again, third option will be between Robertson and Van Dijk. I don't see any other
Yeah,
option.
I'm personally still very bullish on Jota, especially given how Klopp likes him and how he's kind of fits the Liverpool system. Right, he is like the perfect player for that Liverpool system with Mane and Salah playing on either sides. With Diaz playing, Mane has to play the number 9 role, right, which is not his ideal place. He does decently well there, but that's not Klopp's ideal system. So I think Jota, I still like him. I still like him as the third option somewhere down the road, and of course we have to see how if Firmino is fit. If Firmino is fit, I think that dents Jota's minutes more than Diaz playing. If Jota is fit, I think still Jota, Salah, and Mane will be the first priority pick for Klopp in the first 11. But if Firmino is fit, then he starts denting Jota's minutes, especially in the league, right? Given that UCL and everything else. But I still like Jota. If he is fit, if Firmino is not, I think he still plays like 80% of the minutes in the league. I'm still
So
very
if
bullish
you
on him.
play wildcard in 28, would you pick Jota?
Not in 28, yeah, not in 28 specifically. So I still need to see like how it pans out. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
very hard given the situation right now. It's hard to pick Jota in a wild card, but if you have a room in your team, say in 29, and like that you have a place, I think he plays easily 120, 130 minutes in that game, double game week 29. And
Okay.
we all know his numbers are right after Salah in the whole league, right? So whenever he plays, um, and he is currently, I think, the second highest scorer in the league, also, right after Salah. Mane is the third, so three Liverpool players in the top. So yeah, I think I still like Jota very much as the third option. Of course, Robertson is going to be probably more popular because of the nadelness and because of how good he has been recently. But I see myself picking Jota down the road somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And if Firmino is injured, I think, yeah, as you said, that's when definitely Jota comes like 80 to 90% time. So, and yeah, I mean, we'd love to have Jota, right? I mean,
Oh yeah,
definitely, no doubt
at
about
his price, yeah, he's
it. Right. So next is Newcastle, as you mentioned before, right? They are the only team who have double, 28 and 29. The 28 fixture is decent. They're playing against Brighton and Southampton, right? In 29, they're playing Chelsea and Everton. And as you mentioned, right, after Eddie Howe took charge, and after the especially January transfer, their number actually looked pretty good. I would like to give a shout out to FPL Frazier. I think a lot of people already know him. He had a good thread on Newcastle, and he showed how their like last 8 or 9 games, as you mentioned before, right, that the XG conceded, they are actually just after Man City and Liverpool and
Mhm.
Chelsea as well. I think, in last 8 or 9 games, it's only I think 1.2 or 1.08
Yeah,
or something like
close
that.
to one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, close to
one.
1. So they did improve a lot, and now their season average, like previously their XG was only point 0.5 or point 0.6, like 8 or 9 gamings before. But now their season average XG is close to 1 at least, and XG considered it was 1.8 or so. Now it, it,
Mhm.
it decreased to 1.2 or 1.3, something like that. So they are improving, and we see that, and there are now a lot of people and as well, since they have double, you can, and they're they're kind of cheap option as well, right? So we'll see in our wildcard draft as well, right? They fit pretty well, right? If you'd like to attack them. Fraser, he has been really doing good. He had good connection with Eddie Howe before as well in Bournemouth, and here also like in Newcastle, he has been flourishing. Looks like, although
Mm.
ASM was not there whenever he was flourishing, but I think he was very good. Um, he had a couple of good returns as well, and he could have actually had more. I actually saw the highlights of the Newcastle game actually recently. I was very interested to pick one of the Newcastle, so I actually checked their highlights. They have been really good, and there are a couple of good shout like Fraser. Willock is a good shout. He was actually fortunate though, getting the goals or returns in last couple of games, but he's a good again. Price wise, he's really good. Defensively, target, we know that, right? I mean, in Aston Villa also he was really good, right? Before Lucardin joined, and he has like attacking threat as well, right? He was always in the box. So target, Shar and Dan Burn. I think those any of them should be good. It's unfortunate for us that Trippier is like injured in this time. Otherwise, probably he would be a very good pick, even better than Lucardin. I think, because he had good returns as well. He was in set pieces. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to cover about Newcastle. If you would like to add anything, and I think ASM is getting fit. He's gonna join probably from
Yeah, I think he's
28.
training already. Yeah.
I
You
Right.
want to add
think,
So
anything, Zidi?
yeah, I think you guys missed your wildcard pick,
He
Dabraska.
should.
Dabraska.
Oh, Dubravka. Yeah.
oh
Yeah, I mean,
Dubravka.
yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah.
Dubravka and
How
Wood also, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
there. I mean, yeah. Newcastle's
Dabraska
options
is
are
a
also
very good
good.
shout actually. If you are
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
Ben
Yeah,
boosting.
I don't know how come I missed it. I mean, I already
Yeah,
own him.
We both
Wenger
have
also
him,
own him.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
Kant also owns him. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Dubravka is and I
Very good.
think ZD you were showing us yesterday, right? That he rotates very well with Ramsdale. Most
Yeah,
likely you don't have to
Ramsdale.
play him a lot anyways, like
Yeah,
one or two games here and there, but he rotates well with
yeah.
Ramsdale.
Okay.
And
So next, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say that I really like Fabian Schär, especially if Trippier is out. His numbers are actually pretty good, kind of really under the radar, one of those
Mm-hmm.
players. Target
He's
is a
been
little
cheap too.
expensive. Yeah,
I think
very
he's been
cheap, like 4.3 million or something like that, right?
4.3.
So
Yeah, 4.0, 4.4,
target is 4.7 or 4.8, so a little more
4.8. Yeah.
expensive. So if you get him, maybe again a transfer happening down the road. But if you get Shar, just keep him, right? Keep him on the bench. So again, if you're wildcarding, if someone is wildcarding, I think probably over anyone else, Fabian Shar would be my shout for any wildcarders specifically.
Right. Yeah, and double, right? Why not? And again, as you said, you can just
Decent
keep him
game
in the
weeks.
bench, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on with the Norwich. I mean, since they are doubling, right? And one of them is again Leeds. So, like, Timo Pukki could be. I mean, I just thought to keep him, right? I mean, I think, if you're
Yeah.
on wild card, they're doubling and again Leeds. Probably, why not? You can think a lot of people might
Yeah,
pick.
decent fixture. I
And
mean, Brentford and
af-
Leeds. Yeah,
yeah, and
decent.
after third day, actually, Norwich's fixture is not bad. I actually saw
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
I mean,
They just
we
played their
never know.
harder matches, right? Liverpool, Man City, all those matches are gone. So yeah,
Right. And we have been very loaded with like Jimenez or others, right? We have to downgrade them at some point, right? And in forward, I think only only Harry Kane is will be there, right? So if you downgrade, then like Tim Pukki could be an option. We'll
yeah. I
see.
mean, and especially they're in relegation fight. And we last year we
Right.
saw, right, who was the West Brom midfielder Pereira, right? He did like all of a sudden started doing good after game week
Yeah.
27 or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that can definitely happen. But again, I mean, hard to go there right now. But as you said, like if the fixtures turn and if you are looking for a replacement for like a Jimenez or a Dennis or a King, definitely not the worst shot.
Right. Okay, Len, we've been here for a long time, but I mean, there are a lot of teams as well, right? Okay, Southampton, very good fixture in 28, Aston Villa and Newcastle again, and they're playing Watford in 29 at home, and we saw like how good they have been, right? And they also beat West Ham in the FA Cup. So I think they are very good option, and Broha at his price, I think he might have some minutes risk, but I think still he's really good. He's a genuine striker. Che Adams' number has improved a lot, and we will see in one of the later slide as well, right? So if you can, if your budget kind of allows you, then Che Adams could be very good better option than Broha. But again, we have other. I mean, we have to think about the budget as well, right? But yeah, Che Adams is a good option if you play free hit. JWP, we know that, right? He is good. His set pieces, he's nailed. So he's on penalty too. So I think he scored even in the FA Cup as well, right?
Penalty.
In the penalty, and Roha really was assisted. Assisted in that goal. Livramento is now probably more nailed since KWP got injured, right? Previously, we were kind of concerned that whether Livramento is going to take place or not, but
Hmm.
he played good, by the way, in the last game, and also KWP got injured, so I think he's a good pick. And Bednarek is nailed, right? So there are a lot of options, but I think only one, at best two in the defense, right? So you can probably accommodate either Broha, Che Adams, or JWP, one of them. And then for the defense, probably Livramento or Bednarek, whatever you pick. Those are the couple of the shouts. Anything to add?
No, we'll talk about Che Adams later, so I don't want to talk about
Sure.
it now,
Okay.
but we'll talk about it later.
Spars, good again. I think a lot of people already got them, like either Kane or Son. Everton is a very good fixture. They're doubling Manchester United, Brighton. I think both of them are good. And again now, uh, after they lost in the FA Cup, now they are in the blank game week 30, right? And we got a very good captaincy option as well in 30. That's the good thing. So
Hmm.
Kane, Son, no brainer. Kulusevski showed really promise, right? He actually played in all the last three games, right? So I think, we'll see how it goes. Lucas Moura is there. You never know when he's gonna come. But Kulusevski is a good shout too, and I think he defensive. I think nobody really stands out in defense, and also Chelsea's Spurs defense has been very leaky as well. But again, I think center backs, right? Either Deer, maybe Ben Davis. I don't know, but Deer is probably the better shout. So
Yeah, I'd probably disagree a little there. So I think out of the three defenders, Romero is probably the most nailed.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
We
he
forgot
is fit,
Romero.
if Romero is fit, I think he is 100% nailed. There is no way that they're fielding a team without him. Especially that they are out of Europe, they are out
Mm.
of the domestic leagues, right? So Romero, I think, plays absolutely 100% of the fixtures, and he has a good, better threat.
Attacking threat, yes.
Yeah, in the box and instead of Dyer or Davis. So
Hmm.
yeah, so if you, and I think he's pretty cheap too, 4.8 or something. So not a bad shout. And again, as we were saying before, they are of course doubling in 29. Potentially they double in 33 also. So from now to 33, they have plus two fixtures, right? So why not? Again, if someone is wildcarding, not a bad shout.
I actually like the Romero shout over Deer. I completely forgot
Absolutely.
about him, but yeah,
Yeah.
and he has better attacking threats, like the long balls that he gives, right? The run that Son takes. I think it's gonna be, very good.
Hmm.
Yep. Okay, Watford. Dennis.
Again, they keep doubling.
Right. They keep doubling, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do? So
ZD,
yeah,
you
Dennis.
still have Dennis, right?
Yeah.
You're still holding on to Dennis.
Yeah, I still have Dennis. I was thinking to move him from him to Broha probably, but I just have three double game weekers, so I cannot move from him. And game week 30 he's blanking again, so probably I am going to have all of his double game week probably.
And just to let you know, after 31 or 32, again their picture looks good. So
Yeah, looks decent. Yeah, I think they
yeah,
have a Man
Dennis,
City in the
Leeds.
middle, but yeah, Brentford,
I
Leeds.
think he's
That's
still
nice.
better than King, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. King is nowhere. Like King doesn't even look interested in the game. I was looking at their last game. King is nowhere. I don't know. All his
Yeah.
XG numbers were from that one Everton game or whatever that was, where he scored a hat trick. But yeah, Dennis is far, far, far better than King. hundred
Uh,
percent.
This games is actually tough, but like after 30, if the features are good, I think Uh,
Yeah,
ra- Rather than Dennis, probably Sark would be a good option as well.
absolutely.
But not
Yeah,
for this picture actually. If you want to
Oh
someone
yeah,
on the
Sar is a
green,
very good shout. If he's
yeah,
yeah,
fit, he's the talisman of that team.
yeah.
So
yeah, because actually he's playing very good actually. Dennis scored the goal that is also Sar's assist. So
right.
I
I think
think he's
after Sark
penalty taker
came
as
back
well.
from the injury, their attacking threat at least improved than before.
Looks
So
somewhat better, yeah. Yep.
Little bit, yeah.
little bit, little bit. But yeah, Foster is also good option. Like
Yeah,
if you
Foster
want to
is
save
very good
some,
option after
yeah,
Hudson.
very good option.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
they have been getting some clean sheets at least like
Yeah,
recently.
even in the last game, right?
So
So yeah, I mean, again, if they get clean sheet, definitely bonus, right? Bonus magnet will be faster, no doubt about it. With 10 or 11 points.
yeah.
So and
Yeah.
also like I mean, you can save lot. I mean, I think the draft is 4.4 and Costa is 4.1, so you can save some money there.
Yeah, and non creators actually last week they got benefited with
Oh yeah.
Forza,
10
right? Just
pointer,
10
right?
points.
Three bonus
Unbelievable.
save points. So, yeah.
Hmm. Don't remember, like remind me that man. I had it.
Bruno. Yeah.
No,
No, he
Oh, you
had
had Foster on your original
Foster,
team.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. All
All
right,
right.
the
Let's
last
move
one
on.
is Wolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, I mean, they already had double in 26, so a lot of people already jumped onto like Wolves asset. Those who are wildcarded, definitely they did either two or three. At least
Mhm.
I did have two. So they're playing against Crystal Palace and Watford. Both of them are in home, and Crystal Palace was not looking good in away, right? And Watford, we know that their numbers are not pretty good. So defensive wise, it's a pretty good fixture for Oaks. Even also offensive wise, probably okay, but defensive wise is really good, and they are playing again in 30, right? So you cannot ignore them or you cannot get rid of them in 29. So it's all like Aston Villa. Wolves are the team that, I mean, you cannot remove them just after 28 because they are playing again in 30. Sa, I think the most popular pick, right? As I mentioned before with Ramsdale, if you can afford Sa, he's definitely a very good pick given the fixture they have in 28. Size, I mean, we have been really expecting, right? That his bullet header but
Big
didn't come
size.
yet.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
hopefully it's gonna be there.
Mhm.
Kilman, some like if you want to save some money, Kilman, Cody, itinerary is it's not very much nailed, but again, whenever he's on the pitch, right, he's very glamorous, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, defensive wise, they're like I think Sa and Size and Kilman, and between Kilman and Cody, probably people are gonna pick one of them, but I think Sai and Sai will be very popular. In the forward, I put Huang here. I don't like him much. I always feel that I mean he's not very attractive,
Mhm.
and he has some minutes risk as well. Jimenez was benched in last game, so now it could mean either he just rested or coach didn't like him. I don't know what's the narrative there, right?
Yeah.
But again, Jimenez is still a pretty good shout in this fixture. So, anything to add, you guys?
Yeah, maybe Podence. And
Hmm.
Pedro Neto is coming back as well. He was a pretty popular option last year. Of course, this year he has
Yeah,
been injured the whole season. But I like Podence at his price again.
right.
But the problem is again we have so many options in the midfield. That's the problem. But I would actually, if I had a chance, I would probably pick Podence over Jimenez. Jimenez again. I mean, Wolves as a team just does not look like scoring any goals. The only reason that we have Jimenez is because he is on penalties. He has scored like only 5 goals the whole season, and he literally has played almost every minute. Maybe not one match. I think he was benched in the last game, if I'm not wrong. But other than that, he has played pretty much everything. So, I mean, yeah, for his price, doesn't look too attractive. Wang definitely not. I don't like him either. But Podence, I think, could be a good shout if someone is looking for a cheaper midfielder, cheaper attacker from Wolves.
Okay.
All right.
Alrighty. So yeah, we spent a lot of time on that, but again, we had to,
A good
right?
discussion. Yeah.
A lot
Yep.
of team, a lot of players. So okay.
All right, so let's move on. So the next one is basically a quick review of the predicted points from FPL review. And again, if you have not used the site, absolutely do. And again, their absolute point prediction may not be always accurate, but it gives you a very good idea what uh, your transfers should be, where you could gain points. Absolutely check them out. There are two different versions. There is a free version which works out almost like 99% of it, and there is a paid version as well, the premium version. But yeah, generally speaking, the free version is pretty good too. So of course, looking at the game week 28 predicted points, they are very bullish on Lukaku, and as we were saying before as well, he's a flat track bully, pure flat track bully. So if he does get say 120, 130 minutes in the double game week, he definitely can easily score like 10, 11 pointer. It's like no brainer if he does get the minutes. Where the problem is whether he gets the minutes or not. um, but yeah, so if as we said before, also Havertz does look like the first choice, but there is a chance that Havertz, Werner, and Lukaku all play together. Tuchel have fielded all three of them together previously in the season in few matches actually. So he does like that combo, especially since GX is out and Mount is a little bit of minute risk. So I do see three of them playing at least or starting basically at least one of the matches in game of 28. But again, for his price, especially kind of that place taken by Kane. But yeah, if someone can afford to get Lukaku, maybe this week, if you want to take a punt, big punt, but if you want to take that punt and then move on to Kane next game week, possible. That's that not the worst move in the world. Jimenez, we just spoke about him, so don't want to talk about him much. Then it's basically all about the Chelsea defenders and some of the other double game week midfielders, right? So Rudiger, Mendy, we spoke about them. James is also in the mix somewhere down there. The Wolves defenders are there, and of course the midfielders, Rafinha, Coutinho, all of them are doubling Ward Pros, so they are also very highly rated per FPL review. But yeah, so basically the Chelsea defenders, the Wolves defenders, Southampton players, they are expected to score heavily in the game of 28. And again, like not the most attractive double game week for most of the teams, as we spoke before as well. But from an expectation standpoint, we basically expect Chelsea to keep two clean sheets, right? That's probably the most straightforward thought as soon as we look at all the double game week teams, and then maybe like a Wolves clean sheet. If they still had their old numbers from previously what they had in the season, probably pretty much two sure shot clean sheets, not as much as we were discussing just before the video also, right? Their numbers have digressed a little in the recent times. But yeah, so we just wanted to quickly look at the points how FPL review is looking at the mostly the double game weekers. And interestingly, 14 players are expected to score higher than Salah. And we'll talk about when it comes to captaincy. And of course, we were all burnt in game week 27 as well, captaining Weghorst over Kane. So there is a little bit of concern there, of course, whether we want to captain a better single game weeker versus a worse double game weeker. But yeah, so that's something interesting. So at least still 14, because they're doubling, 14 of the double game weekers are expected to score higher than Salah. Anything that catches your eyes, guys, out of this? So these are the top 20, by the way, in game of 28.
I see Timo Pukki's name there.
Yeah, Pookie is the yeah, because they have a game against Brentford, right? So that's where he's
Yeah,
expected to score all
Chelsea
his
and
points. Yeah. But yeah. Ings is there too. So we were talking about Watkins, of course. So, but Ings also seems nailed at least at this moment. If they're using the 4-4-2 system, Ings and Watkins both are probably nailed in that system. But yeah, other than that, nothing much to add here. Let's move on. You want to talk about your wildcard draft, Chandra?
yeah. So both of us played wildcard, right? But I mean, there are a lot of people are probably interested playing wildcard. I know ZD was thinking whether he wants to play or not instead of playing like getting a lot of hits. So I thought to kind of come up with a very quick one. Probably not very good. Like it needs some polishing here and there, but let me read it out. So for 28, definitely I thought Dubravka. We already mentioned that, right? He's doubling, so it's a good shout. So he's gonna be there. Reese James, uh, Trent, Killman, they're doubling, and target I picked it could be Shar too. give us probably some money. Coutinho, double, Rafinha, Salah, Kane, Broha, and Saint Maximin. So this team has like how many? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, eight doubler, right? Eight doubler, and then whenever this team is gonna play in nine, like in 29, now they are in a kind of a good shape to play actually even bench boost,
Mhm.
because now they have Ramsdale in the goalie and they have Dubravka, so double double, right? James is a good. I mean, you can have Rudiger if you want for nailness, but then Trent, Robertson, and Target, all of them are doubling, right? Martinelli doubling, Norwich, like Rafinha against Norwich is a good game. Salah
Mhm.
doubling, Saka doubling, Kane doubling, and ASM doubling. If you want to remove Killman, you can get like any like Romero, maybe like any uh, um, Spurs defense. Broha is a good, like has a good fixture against Watford, and Coutinho is against West Ham. Not a bad, but if you want to have like a one hit, you can get actually another probably double game weaker like Kulusevski or I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, so it's gonna be a good bench boost option. See, if, like usually, like whenever you play a wild card, it would be good to like play bench boost like as a close proximity. Otherwise, you have to carry those players for a long time, right? If you don't play bench boost, right? So
Right.
that's the problem. So I think if you play wildcard in 28, I would like, for instance, like for us, right? We played wildcard in 26. Now we are playing bench boost in 29. At least me and Kante, right?
Mhm.
So I felt like this could be a good draft if anyone is interested to play bench boost in 29, and that's what it came. So I don't know if you guys have any comment on that, but again, it was a quick one. It could have been way polished, but I just thought I'll put it here.
No, I think it sets up you well for, of course, 28 and 29, and it also sets you up decently for beyond game week 30. You have
Yeah,
the Arsenal
20,
players.
30 probably you have to play free hit here. I think in 30 you have
Yeah.
6 or 7 players. So
Yeah, I mean, even with 7 players, and we'll talk about it either on this draft or the draft that I'm going to show. Even if you have 7 players, given the quality of the players, might just be good enough, right? So it's more the quality than the quantity, maybe for, especially for something like Game Week 30, which is a big blank. So yeah, I like this, absolutely like this. And again, you have the Liverpool double up in defense, which you can again keep for the rest of the season.
mhm.
The Chelsea defense, James is a very good long-term pick. Again, if so, it was maybe between James and Rudiger, of course. If you're more of that kind of guy who goes for nailedness, go for Rudiger. But yeah, James is a good long-term pick. But yeah, overall, I absolutely like this one.
Okay,
And-
yeah. That's all from my side. Yeah.
All right. So again, I made a similar draft also. Just again, it's a lot of common players, of course, because of the doubles in 28 and 29, and we have been talking so much together, so our thought process is also very similar. But I was just kind of trying to see if there is another route to go, a little differential, right? And when I say differential, the biggest differential I think in the next few games is going to be Chelsea defense, right? And a lot of people will have one Chelsea defender, but if you can have two, I think that in itself is a big differential for 28, 29, and starting 31 and beyond. So, of course, they don't play in 30, that's the downside, but anything before and after that, it's like all golden for Chelsea. So, I think Chelsea double up defense can be a very good differential. So, I could not accommodate Robertson, of course, given that I have two Chelsea defense. But what I could do is I could accommodate Son. So I, of course, have to sacrifice the likes of Coutinho, Rafinha, the cheaper options. But I think Son can easily outscore any of them, even in a single game week. Absolutely can. And then he has a pretty good double in game week 29. And as we were saying, the double is against Manu and Brighton. Both
Mhm.
of them are attacking sides. And Tottenham generally does well against those sides, those who attack. So they kind of stay back, stay back, stay back, and then counter attack, right? So that both Brighton and Manu's game kind of suits Tottenham, especially for Son, right? Because he
Mhm.
is that kind of guy who makes the run, the counter attack. So uh, yeah, so I think I like that. I still have Salah, I still have Kane, and I have Son. Uh, and both Son and Kane, of course, have a game in 20. Sorry, in 30 also, right? In the blank game week. And I also picked Romero as I was giving him a shout. So Romero is in my bench also for 28. So of course he plays in 29 and then in the blank game week. So good thing about this is you have 10 doublers. So you could still move from James to Van Dyke, or if you don't think that's worth it, you may just skip it, roll a transfer or whatever. But most likely, most people would do that if you already have another Chelsea defender, Rudiger, in place. So James to Van Dijk, easy move. So you basically have 10 doublers in 29, with Rudiger being the only single game weaker, and a decent bench boost. Not probably the best, but Killman, Ramsey, Broha, and Dubravka doubling, you can still bench boost in 29. Not the best. Again, I think Wrangler, you had Coutinho in your bench. Um,
Yeah,
so
and
it's basically Ramsey instead of Coutinho on the bench in this draft. But it's still a decent draft. But I really like this game, especially for 29 and 30. Because in 30 now, I don't have to worry about removing Salah anymore. I already have Son.
hmm,
Um, Both of us, or pretty much three of us, were thinking about going Salah to Son just for game week 30, right?
I will not go there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably none of us will, but again, we'll see how what happens once we are there. But it's a tempting mode, of course, for a week, right? But anyway, so uh, at least for 30, I'm well set up. I would have only 7 players in this draft in 30. But if you look at the quality of the players, you have a Wolves defender, you have the Arsenal goalkeeper, you have the double or triple up on Tottenham playing against West Ham, you have an Arsenal attacker, you have Ramsey, of course, the enabler. So not the worst thing in the world again. And if you take a hit here and there, you can still play 9 players, but most likely you won't. I think 8 players is decent enough for the game week 30. But yeah, so just kind of a differential, little bit of differential wildcard draft. Again, as I mentioned, it's very hard to go outside the popular picks because of how the doubles and blanks are placed. But again, this team also places you pretty well for game week 31 and beyond. You have your Chelsea defender in place. You have uh, your Liverpool defense double up still in place. You have a Tottenham triple up for your potential double game week 33. You still have Arsenal double up for your potential double game week 33. So yeah, I think and the Newcastle players, of course, are kind of iffy. So you probably don't want to hold them for too long after 30. So I have 3 in this draft. So which is, I mean, again, you can go for a different player. You could go say from Wood to Adams for 28, something like that. That's another option that you can go to. But yeah, so the Wheelock I like as a pick as well. I don't think we spoke about him, but Wheelock is a decent pick as well. He's one of those streaky players, right? So like JWP and Madison.
Mhm.
When he's in form, he scores. So, but yeah, I think I like this draft, especially for, again, if someone is wildcarding in 28 and trying to set up for the rest of the season. You not necessarily you have to free hit in 30, right? Again, for either your draft or mine, I think Wrangler, um, the way the schedules are in game week 30, I don't think it's worth to free hit anyways, as long as you have 7 8 decent players, right? Anything that you want to add, either ZD or Wrangler, in this?
No, I think I liked it actually. The six premium thing, I liked it pretty well. I mean, 29. I don't know. It's gonna be difficult to play bench boost maybe, but still, it's pretty good. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not that big of an if
one or
you
two
yeah.
transfer could be fine.
Yeah, if you save the bench boost for later, it's not the worst thing. Like we have to bench boost this week because we have all the expensive players on the bench, right? And they
Yeah,
have good single game weeks.
you can actually do Killman to White, Ben White, and then you
Yeah,
can get double, right? So
maybe, yeah,
not bad.
yeah. So yeah, you basically maximize the doubles as much as
Right.
possible.
I mean, whenever you do
Yeah.
bench boost, actually, that's the idea, right? To
Mhm. All
okay,
right.
yeah, I liked it. I liked it so much.
Okay, so let's move on. All right. So captaincy. So pretty big decision. It was a big decision in 27 as well for all of us. So in our video all three of us were very bullish on Kane or Son. We were going to go that route, but we kind of followed everyone else in the community. I think Weghorst EO was like 160% in the top
154. Yeah.
100K or something like that. So yeah, I mean, this week is a similar situation, probably not as bad. At least some of the teams that double are probably better teams than Burnley. But still, we cannot ignore Salah, right? The guy, the player that he is, the form that he is in. A lot of his XG is actually due to all the penalties that he got recently after he came back from AFCON and before he went to AFCON against Leicester, and then the two penalties against Norwich, right? Or Leeds was that against Norwich. So yeah, so I mean, it's some of it is kind of pumped up because of his penalties, but it's very hard to ignore that guy, right? So he has an XGI of 1.33 per game. Like how do you ignore him even if he has a single game win? And he's playing against West Ham, but again, as we were saying, West Ham's numbers have digressed significantly recently. So they are not the worst defense, but they can easily concede 2, 3, especially to a team like Liverpool. And if Liverpool scores, Salah is going to be involved. So what do you guys think for like Salah as a single game week captainer in this game week? ZD or Angler?
I mean, of course, a great option, but thing is, I think as Chelsea doubled, many people will be captaining Chelsea defender or Coutinho or Rafinha. I mean, Salah undoubtedly is the king of the game, but
Mhm.
this week I can see people can try different options as well. So it will be a fun week. Hopefully, as not bad as we had in game week 27, but
Right.
hopefully it will be an interesting week for
Yeah.
captain wise.
Yeah, it's a very good week to go for a differential captain, right?
Hmm.
It's important to have fun playing the game as well.
Yeah.
uh, Salah captaincy is boring, kind of. So, yes, this is the perfect week that you can avoid Salah captaincy, right?
Yeah, I mean Liverpool are favorite for this game, but West Ham, I think probably
They will
they
put
will
up a
try
fight.
to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
they will try to not to concede, right? So and also Liverpool, like others attackers, are coming um, as well. So
Mhm.
in that case, I think for this week we can experiment. I mean, like I'm not actually captaining him probably in this week.
Great. All right. So, of course, the double game weekers, all the four that's who are on this list are all double game weekers. We did not include any Chelsea defender here, as ZD was saying, but we can talk about them, of course, as a captaincy option. But Coutinho is going to be very popular. He is already very highly owned. I forgot. I think overall his ownership is like 20% or something in the top 200K or 100K. It's probably even slightly higher. So he will be a popular option, and we'll talk about him in the next slide a little more. And then Rafinha. So Rafinha and Coutinho has overall very similar XGI numbers over the last 10 game weeks. Of course, Coutinho has played only 6 games because he was a new addition to the team. Mason Mount more because of his fixture against Burnley and Norwich. Wrangler, as you were mentioning earlier today, that he made that big haul of 24 against Norwich earlier in the season, right? In game week 9, where I captained Havertz, unfortunately, but Mount was the guy that hauled. Um, but purely because of the fixtures, and it's hard to judge any Chelsea player for their like last 7, 10 games because there were a lot of transitions in the team, um, and they had lots of blanks in between, so really hard to judge just by the numbers anyways. But Mount is kind of, when he plays, if he's on the field, he's in the midst of it, right? In the midst of all the attacks, he's always involved. Not the greatest XGI in the last 10 game weeks, but he's a decent option. Uh, Another interesting option is Che Adams, and I promise that I'll talk about him a little more. Uh, as a captaincy shout, I definitely like him more than Broja. Um, he looks again very involved. He looks like the number 9 guy. And Broja was, at least in the last couple of games, he was a little more peripheral. Adams is the guy who was kind of always in the box, in the basically the goal scoring areas. So he is a very decent shout, and he has decent underlying numbers and decent returns also in the last few games. So he has a return of basically 0.86 goal involvement per game, which is very good, very decent, right? Basically better than Salah, actually better than Salah's goal involvement in the last 10 game weeks. Underlines are of course a little worse, but still very decent, zero point 0.5. So he's expected to return at least once every 2 games, basically. I think, given the schedules, not the best again, Aston Villa and Newcastle, especially Newcastle improving defensively, but he is still a decent shout. Most likely we won't go there, but I just wanted to at least make that shout, kind of an outside punt for captaincy. And as we were talking about it, not the uh, worst week for an outside shout for captaincy pick. So that's basically what the captaincy shouts are for us. And for from a FPL review standpoint, again, all of them are expected to outscore Salah anyways. So why not? Right, so let's have fun, let's captain a double game weeker again, hopefully it works out. And it's not like that it has never worked out this season, right? Bowen did well in double game week, Bruno did well in double game week. So it's not always like the double game weekers have been failing, it's about which double game week are you captain. So you of course have to make a good like educated decision on that. But yeah, this is a very good game week to not captain Salah. So in the next one, basically what I wanted to show is basically the consistency. And again, I will get back to you, Wrangler and ZD, to have your comments on captaincy. But maybe let me just talk through this first. So Coutinho, all his numbers, all the underlying numbers that we're showing, so basically zero point 0.5 XGI, all of that he basically accumulated in 2 games. In his first game against Manchester United, and he was on the pitch for like 18 minutes or so only, and basically no one knew what he's going to do, right? So, and then the game against basically Leeds United, and we were talking about how poor defensively Leeds were in the last few game weeks, right? So all of his XGI essentially was in that one game, and in the Manchester United game for that 18 minutes. In all the other 4 games, he hasn't looked at all that involved. So I am not at all going to captain Coutinho. Just looking at this, right? His numbers at in the surface may look good, comparable to Rafinha, um, but I definitely prefer Rafinha over Coutinho just because of this. Rafinha is a more consistent player, more talismanic. He's on penalties. Coutinho could also be on penalties. I'm not saying that he's not, but it depends on who is on the pitch and not. But Rafinha absolutely is on penalties as long as Bamford is not back. But his numbers are a little more distributed. So he has had close to 0.5 XGI at least in 6 of his last 10 games, right? So that's good. So of course, in some of the games, he completely was kind of out of it. Manchester City, Everton, and Liverpool. And of course, it's understandable. Who does well against City or Liverpool anyways? Everton is probably a little bit of outlier. But in all the other games, he always had very good involvement. And he was actually unlucky not to score against Tottenham and against Manchester United. Um, should have had at least 1 goal in each of those games. So I definitely prefer Rafinha over Coutinho for this specific reason. Che Adams, as we were talking about him, and again, his numbers are also a little bit inflated by his last game against Norwich. 1.2 XGI in just that one game, right? Overall, 0.5 XGI, close to 0.5 XGI. But a lot of it is contributed from that one game, from that Norwich game. So again, I am personally not going there, but if someone is adventurous enough, not the worst shout again. And Salah, of course, I mean, as we keep talking about him, in last 2 games, he absolutely killed it, and absolutely salute to all the triple captainers. What a game week it was to triple captain Salah, right? Chance in a million. And he absolutely killed both Norwich and Leeds, right? So ZD is, of course, smiling because he got all those big points, 84 points, right? I don't know if we are ever going to see breaking that record in our lifetime in a triple captaincy. But yeah, so a lot of his numbers are also kind of attributed to those last two games. But even so, he's just always involved, right? Even if he plays for a few minutes. So after he came back from AFCON, I think his first game was against Tottenham, was it? I forgot what it was, but yeah, most likely Tottenham and then
No,
Leicester.
Leicester City.
Or Leicester, yeah. So
No,
basically,
before going, it was Leicester City, right? He missed
After that also.
penalty.
after coming back, also I think, yeah. So
Also,
this
yeah.
was this was the Leicester, yeah. So this was the Leicester game before AFCON, and this was the Leicester game after AFCON, and he had a Chelsea game just before going to the AFCON, right? So, but anyway, so he just always looks involved. He's at least in 8 of the last 10 matches, he has had at least zero point 0.5 XGI. So at least decent chance of contributing to a goal or scoring a goal. Only the two games just before AFCON Leicester. And again, that Leicester game, the XGI doesn't look as good, but whoever watched that match, we did, right? He could have and should have had more goals. And of course, this is NPXG. He missed a penalty in that game also, right? So he could have scored in that game too, easily. So it's hard to again look past Salah, and again, all of us are saying that we are going to captain a double game weeker. I am very bullish on Rafinha out of all the double game weekers that we have spoken about. Um, if I'm not going to captain Rafinha, I am not sure about any of the other double game weekers to be sure. So in case I don't cap Rafinha or anything like whatever, like injuries to Rafinha or something happens, I will go directly to Salah. He is my second choice for captaincy. What do you guys think? Ranveer?
I was on Coutinho, but I mean, it's just Coutinho. I mean, if you go back to the previous slide, right? I mean, Coutinho and Rafinha,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely their underlines are there, and as you said, right, Coutinho's numbers are kind of inflated for the first two games out of first, like in first three games.
Right.
But the XGC, right, opponents XGC, if you see both of them, like Leeds, they're playing against Leeds, right? And Leeds is playing against Leicester City, right? So I think it's their 20th and 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the like odds
In the
two,
whole league, yeah.
right? In the whole league.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of this, I think, I mean, yeah, Rafinha is definitely a good shout. And as you said, like he was very unlucky even in the Tottenham game, right? He should have got a return.
Yeah.
No doubt, Rafinha is a very good shout, but I don't know. I'm still bullish on.
Evolution Coutinho.
Yeah, it's just again the opponent and the like he's on set pieces and penalties too. I mean, Rafinha is there too, but I don't know. Like as a team wise, I probably like trust more on Aston Villa than Leeds. Probably. I mean, that's just my
Makes sense.
personal
Yeah. Yeah.
preference.
Yeah. Of
So,
course, I mean, Leeds is going to have a new coach, so we never know how their system is going to be, where Rafinha is going to play, and so on. So that's absolutely a doubt. You're absolutely right. So that's an uncertainty for Leeds. You're right. Who
but
who would
yeah,
you
I mean, I think
who would
I'll
you
be
captain if you don't captain Coutinho? Who would be your second captaincy choice?
Rafinha.
Okay.
So
ZD,
I'll
how
be
about you?
actually like between these two probably.
For me, yeah, Rafinha, or if I can get Rudiger, I might get Thiago Silva. If I get Thiago Silva, I'm confused because of his minutes assurance. Although he might play, but probably I won't captain in that case.
Yeah.
In that case, I will captain probably Rafinha. But if I can manage Rudiger, I can captain him probably. Just taking a chance that he can get two clean sheet, which is I think is a good probability,
Yep.
good point probability than like these attackers. I mean, I like Rafinha as well, but the Chelsea defense is also something um,
Mhm.
they are giving point.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea defenders are very good shout, given their fixtures, Burnley and Norwich. So almost two clean sheets on the paper, right? Written on the stone, pretty much. Of course, I mean they can concede, but at least on the paper, it's two guaranteed clean sheets. So
Yeah,
absolutely,
third
yeah. If
third
someone wants to
option
go
could
there,
be actually Salah. I think whether Rafinha, Chelsea defender, or Salah. I mean, Salah is in third, but probably after press conference or my transfer scenario, I can decide.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that you guys want to add for captaincy? You are muted, Randy.
I want to I want to ask a question to ZD. So like say if you say like if you have Rudiger, you're gonna captain him, right? Like you have a high possibility. But if you won Reece James, would you captain him too?
Because of the minute concern, actually. I think owning this James is itself a good part. Captaining is like if he plays, he can give good point, right? But the
Yeah.
problem is about his minute, as I'm not certain.
Yeah. I
That's the
agree.
issue.
I think it's too big of a chance. Owning him is good enough. You don't necessarily need to captain Reese to get the
Mm.
benefits. But yeah, I agree with the Rudiger shot. If you have him, if you ever want to captain a defender, this is probably the best week to do that. So yeah, cannot disagree with that. All right. Okay, let's move on to our teams. So this game week is, of course, I'm getting back my game week 26 team because I wildcarded and then free hitted in 27. So my plan is to bench boost right now, at least, of course, unless something happens to one of the team, one of the players. I mean, otherwise, I'm pretty sure and set on using my bench boost this game week. So I'll just read out my team quickly. So Dubravka, double game week, Saiz, Dinie, double game weekers in defense, Trent, single game weeker, and then Rafinha, currently my captaincy on, Coutinho, Salah, Ramsey, Broha, Jimenez, and Kane. So those are my first 11. And of course, I'm trying to make sure that my bench is realistic, not like a unrealistic bench and then I call it a bench post. Of course, I'm trying to make sure that it looks like a realistic bench given all my players. And currently, my bench is Ramsdale, Saka, Gabriel. So all three Arsenal players against Watford. So it's a little bit of risk. They concede one goal, and all of a sudden, I may end up with like only 6 points from that game. So that's a little risk with the bench boost, but I'm willing to take that chance against again on paper. Arsenal should easily beat Watford without conceding. And then Van Dijk. He's probably should not be the third bench, at least right now. More likely the first bench for the outfielders. But that's basically how my bench is set up right now. So Ramsdale, Saka, and Gabriel versus Watford, and Van Dijk against West Ham. Given how it's set up right now, I just cannot see how I don't bench boost. I don't expect my players to be better quality at any other point of the season later in the season. Even if we have a big double game week and so on, this is just a opportunity that I cannot miss to bench boost, right? So as of now, my only transfer plan is Van Dijk to Reece James. And again, I'm very bullish on Reece James because of his upside and because it's probably going to be a 1 week transfer for me. It could or could not be, but right now the way I have planned is get Reece in for 28 and then transfer him out for a Liverpool defender again in 29. That may change, of course, but at least right now I'm very bullish on Reece playing both the games in 28. And I absolutely expect him to outscore Rudiger or Thiago Silva if he plays even 130 to 150 minutes in the double game week. But yeah, that's my team. Any comments, ZD or Angler?
No, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I
No, it
think
makes sense
plan,
actually. Yeah.
and I think your plan is to also, I mean, in 29 probably either get back like any of the Liverpool assets. I'm assuming
Yeah,
like
that's what I said. So either get back to Van Dijk or I have enough money for Robertson as well.
that's right.
So I can get
Unless
there.
the price is different.
Right. So yeah, I mean, of course, something else happens with the team. I'll have to set it up. It's not a necessary move, but I'll probably just try to attack the double game week in 29 as well. But yeah, that's basically my planned move right now. Wrangler, I know you are in a similar situation, very similar situation. You want to talk about your team?
Yeah, it's a very similar team as well, kind of like template wildcard team. So I don't want to read it out, but it's almost like same whatever Kante had. I just had Tierney and he had Gabriel. There's a
Hmm.
difference, and I'm also planning to play bench boost. Um, the good part of Kante is that he already kind of decided he's gonna have only one option. But for me, I couldn't decide yet I mean, in which route I'm gonna go, because I really want that triple Liverpool in 31. As I was telling, right, because whatever transfer I do, I have to also think about like kind of uh, 31 and beyond as well, and 30 is blank game week.
Hmm.
So I can get like Thiago Silva with like directly from Tierney to like I mean, if I transfer out Tierney, and as you just said, right? I mean, if somehow the clean sheet is wiped out, then it's a trouble. So I was thinking whether to get rid of Tierney and get Thiago Silva here or not. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's one way. But then I mean, I have to change Thiago Silva after I mean 31, right, or 30, because he's I mean Rudiger and James Richards is probably better. Well, not probably, they are better option than Thiago Silva. So I have to make this transfer anyways, whether I do it now or later. So that's one route. Another route is whatever you have, like VVD to like Rudiger or James. Like I think I'm gonna go with James as well because of his upside. Third option, I was thinking to get like Ramsdale to Sa and VVD to Rudiger with a -4. Again, it's just like I'm very nervous sometimes that I have two defense in for Arsenal, and somehow if the clean sheet is gone, then it's a problem since I'm playing bench boost.
Hmm.
And the fourth one, I was thinking to get rid of both Tierney and Lukadin. I don't like Lukadin for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like he's not gonna get the clean sheet, and then I'm not
Yeah.
gonna play him in 30 as well. Sorry, in 29 and 30, there is not much of upside there. So I was thinking that if I get rid of Tierney and Lukadin, then I can get Rudiger and Kilman. So in 29, I can keep both Rudiger and Van Dijk, and even in 31 as well, I can have them. So that's one way I was thinking, but it's gonna come with a hit, and I'm missing both of the like Lukadin's playing double in 28 and Tierney is in 29, so I'm losing both of them. Although I'm getting Killman and Rudiger for the 28. So yeah, I mean, I don't know yet. I might
Yeah.
decide at the last moment. So I'm actually always thinking about like what's gonna happen in 30 or 31. That's in my mind.
Yeah. I mean,
So
if you're
yeah, I mean,
taking a hit, I would absolutely go for option four over option three. I just don't like that Ramsdale to some move anymore. I know we spoke about it a lot, and initially I was kind of thinking about doing that too. But as soon as I looked at Arsenal has two extra fixtures, and Ramsdale is kind of a season keeper, they might double or they pretty much should double in 33. I think it's just not a worthy move from going to Ramsdale to Sa. I like the Dinia to Kilman move better. You move out some money and you get a Chelsea defender in. So I think that route looks better to me rather than going from Ramsdale to Sa. Ramsdale is a season keeper, I think. I don't want to move up from there anymore.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, option. I think I might go either option four or option two. Maybe I don't like option one as well because again, I don't want
Hmm.
Thiago Silva in the long term.
For the
So
long term, yeah.
two or four. Okay, that's probably I'm gonna go, but I'll see. I'm gonna decide later. So that's
Yeah,
the overall plan. And yeah,
sounds good. You are back in the 50K, so congratulations again, Wrangler. But at least
oh
the
yeah,
free hit,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Congratulations. What a freight, man. What a freight.
What a free hit. All right, let's talk about ZD's team.
Yeah, I also use my free hit. I moved 8k thanks to my free hit. So 108k. So I was actually, well, I was in a dilemma that should I use wildcard to set it up and probably 28, 29, 30, but I decided not because I'm planning to use play my bench boost on 36. So I'm planning to play my wildcard data after 30.
Hmm.
It could be 31 or it could be 34, I believe. 33 or 34. So currently, I am willing to take -8, not more than that actually. So my confusion is actually to get rid of Cancelo or not. That's the question. So if I get rid of Cancelo, then it will be Cancelo, Gray, and Dallo, and I will take Thiago Silva, Corey, and Rapina. And if it is option 2 Van Dijk, then it will be actually same player, but I will try to get back a BVD or Rafinha. There is another option actually. I was thinking probably getting rid of BVD, Bowen, and Dallo, and probably taking Rhys James, Tillman, and Rafinha. In that case, I need to. Uh, I, I mean, I'm planning to transfer out James again in 29 and take the Robertson. But in
Mhm.
game week 30, I have to take a hit and probably take two more players to fill the nine players, which is okay with me because I might use my wild card in 31. So that's the issue. So I can take out Cancelo, but I mean my money is tied up over there, and also, but I don't see I am going to play him. I mean this game week is good, but the upside with Chelsea defender is good as well. So that I need to actually figure out. Um, but right now I am on like I think Cancelo, Gray, Dallo because if I do that actually I don't need to take any hit anymore. Like in 29 and 30, in 29 I can roll with 7 double game week. Um, in game week 30 I will have two free transfer and um, I can probably take one attacker and one defender. Uh, and I
Mhm.
can fill that with 10 players. So
Yeah,
that's the thinking. So I know you guys are actually suggesting me to take the first route, which
absolutely.
makes sense more.
I think it's a no-brainer almost, given your team structure and given how it will set you up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if if I don't take out cancel, the problem would be I have to bench one of the cancel and Saka,
yeah.
which I think does not work. I mean, in that case, oh, why keeping Cancelo if I bench him against Manu at home? And if I bench Saka, I mean, it's a good fixture actually against Watford, so probably I should not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think probably I am also lean to Cancelo, although I cannot afford this James for Cancelo, but I think I will take that. It's a part actually, like
That's
for
okay.
1 week.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for 1 week.
And
So,
especially since you have your wild card in hand,
yeah,
whenever you plan to wild card, so Thiago Silva for people who has not used their wild card yet, Thiago Silva is a decent option. Uh, and I think Cancelo money should not be a problem later, even if you bench boost in 36. There are lots of budget enablers, right? So you should be
yeah.
easily able to get back to Cancelo, no
And
problem. Yeah,
also, if I take Theoso, which is good, like in 30, I can actually, with my free transfer, I can get rid of him. I mean, I would not hesitate to take him out, right?
yeah.
Uh, right now, if I take any other player or like if I do take out a Liverpool defender and get back to them, it will be probably -8 in the like
Hmm.
more -8, which
Hmm.
probably is not worth it in my
Hmm.
sense.
I
I
like
think
I like
in
Route One,
yeah in
100%
three
Roberts.
games I will just take two hits and probably I don't need to take hit anymore actually in that case.
Yeah, yeah, looks good. Looks good. All right. Okay. I think we're pretty much done here. Any last comments before we finish, Wrangler or ZD?
No, I think it's been already 1 hour 40 minutes. That's the longest one probably for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it was a good
yeah,
discussion though, and it
lot
is
of
the
things
kind of
to
the
discuss.
yeah critical time of the season as well. So worth it, I believe.
yeah. Best of
Buddy,
luck to everyone.
yeah,
Best of luck to you guys as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
bench
28
boosting.
first.
So hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I
It
also
never
have
does.
those.
Bench boost never works out for me. Last season I bench boosted with triple leads, I think, single game with leads players, and they all gave me literally two
Yeah, I
points each.
remember that
So,
game. Yeah, but
so yeah, hopefully
yeah,
it
I
works
have
out this
Ramsdale Saka too, so I'll play for this.
year. All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for spending the time with me, and best of luck for Game Week 28. And we'll talk soon again. Bye bye.
Thank you.
bye
Thank
guys.
you guys.